Okay, so here we go. Are you ready? All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to work one of the problems from your worksheet, okay? I think it's number 9. It looks like this. 9x squared plus 12x plus 4 equals 5. Are you with me?
Yes.
All right. Y'all remember this problem? Anybody done it?
No.
No? Okay. So tell me what I told you to do.
Constants on the other side.
Yeah, subtract.
Oh wait,
Factor
factor
is
five
three.
question again?
No, you're supposed to take out the 9.
Okay.
I don't know what you did.
So not one person is doing what I told you to do. I told you on the first 6 problems on your worksheet, these are on the first 6 problems on your worksheet, these things right here are perfect square trinomials. Okay? So how do I know that's a perfect square trinomial? Is this a perfect square? Of what? Is this a perfect square? 2. Is this middle guy twice their product? Then that is a perfect square trinomial, guys. It is the square root of the first, which is what? 3x. Keep the sign. Square root of the last, which is 2, quantity squared. Now what do I do? Square root both sides. Over here, this eliminates this, and I'm left with 3x plus 2 equals what? Plus or minus the square root of 5. Now what do I do? Subtract 2 from both sides. So 3x is equal to negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 5. Now what do I do? So x is equal to negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 5 all over 3. That's my answer. All right, anybody got a question about it? Okay, so now we're fixing to work that, and we're going to work it the difficult way, okay? I want you to try your best to keep up with me because, people, it's going to happen again today, okay? All right, so here's what I want to do. I want to take this 4 and subtract it from both sides. Is that what some of y'all wanted to do anyway? Okay. And get 9x squared plus 12x equals 1. Are you with me? Okay. Now, can I complete the square on this?
Yeah.
No.
What do you have to do first?
Get a square by itself.
Take 3.
Yeah, y'all. Not 3. What's in front of the x squared? 9. Y'all, you have to have a 1x squared. You can't complete the square unless it's a 1x squared. So what do you have to take out? A 9. Okay, so I'm going to factor out a 9. Hey, factoring something out is the same as what operation?
Dividing.
Dividing, okay? So what do you multiply 9 by to get 9x squared?
X squared.
What do you multiply 9 by to get 12x? So that's when your brain goes, what? You can't multiply 9 by something. Y'all, that's when you take this number and you divide by this number. 12 over 9. What does 12 over 9 reduce down to? 4 thirds. 3 goes into both of them. 4 thirds. So, what do you multiply 9 by to get 12x? 4 thirds x.
So you're showing us why not to do it this way?
Well,
Or can
it can be done this way. I'm just showing you that's way's easier. That's why I told you to do it. Okay? Are you going to have to do problems like this? Yes, you are. We're doing more of them today. Okay? So, close those parentheses and equals a 1. What should I draw right now?
Rainbow.
You better draw that rainbow. Okay? You better draw that rainbow. So now, I'm going to do this. I'm going to complete the square right inside here. So I want to take half of this number. Do I want to divide this number by 2? No, people, that just makes a mess. Okay? So what am I going to do to it? Multiply it by half. So I'm going to go over here. I'm not going to do anything in my head. did. I'm gonna do it all on my paper. So I'm gonna say 4/3 times 1/2. Y'all listen to me. Please always look and see if you can cross cancel and make your fraction better, okay? 2 goes into 2 one time, 2 goes into 4 2 times. How do you multiply a fraction? Top times top, bottom times bottom. What's 2 times 1?
2.
What's 3 times 1? So that is half of 4/3. That makes sense, doesn't it? 2/3 is half of 4/3. 2/3 and 2/3, guess what that makes? 4/3. All right. So what are we supposed to do with that number?
Put it over there.
What's 2/3?
What?
We'll put it in the rainbow.
What do you have to do first?
You have to square it.
Thank you. Thank you.
okay.
Plus, wasn't even here yesterday, y'all. Come on. So you have to square it. How do you square a fraction?
Right.
Times
Square the top, square the bottom. What's 2 squared?
4.
What's 3 squared? So you add 4 9s. But did you really add 4 9s? No, you added 9 times 4 9s. What happens to those 9s? And what are you left with?
4.
So, if I added 4 right here, what do I have to do over here?
Add 4.
Add 4. Okay? So now, 9 times square root of the first. Say it. Thank you. Keep the sign. Square root of the last. There it is, right there. Square root of the last. There it is, right there. 2/3. Quantity squared is equal to, what's 1 plus 4? 5. Now what am I going to do? Divide by 9. So now I have x plus 2/3 quantity squared is equal to 5 9. All right? Now what do I do? Square root. So this cancels this. X plus 2/3 equals plus or minus. What's the square root of 9? Does that tell me I'm on the right track, I think? Yes, because we said they should have that common denominator right there. So that's my 3. I'm like going, whoa, I think I'm doing okay. Square root of 5, can you simplify it? No. Now what do I do? Subtract that 2/3. So look, you can either write it like this, negative 2/3 plus or minus the square root of 5/3. Or, since they have the same denominator, let's just put them all over a 3. Either way is acceptable to me. Look at that. Amazing.
Everybody's a lot
Amazing.
easier.
Yeah, I think I'll do it your way.
So, I mean, hey, you don't have to listen to me if you don't want to. It works the other way. It just takes a lot more work. All right, so you ready for another problem? And then I'm going to start on the new stuff, okay? So, example 5. Example 5 says, it's kind of like a reading problem. It says the area of a rectangle is 112 centimeters squared. Find the value of x. And then they give you a picture. So here's my rectangle. This length is 7x, and this width is x plus 6. Okay? So tell me what the formula for area is. So length times width is equal to the area. All right. Well, what did they tell me that the area was? 112? 112. Hey, do I have to square that? Because that has a square right there. No. This means, because to get the area, you multiplied centimeters times centimeters. The centimeters in the length times centimeters in the width. That's what gave you centimeters squared. Squared area, squared units is area. Cubed units is volume. Single units is perimeter. Okay? All right, so what's my length? 7x. Times what's my width? Okay, So I venture to say that most kids could have done that. Do you agree? We're gonna solve it by completing the square.
Where's the X by the
Yeah,
seven?
isn't it 7x?
Oh, sorry. I just wrote a 7. I was looking inside, well, I heard y'all say that, and I was like, well, it's right there. But I didn't see that one. Yeah, 7x times x plus 6. Okay, so here's what I want to say. I could distribute that 7x throughout this and get 7x squared plus 42x. Do you agree with that? Okay? But what would I have to go back and take out in order to complete the square? Nope.
Oh, same.
Yeah. Okay? Look, let me show you. If I distributed this 7x, do you agree that I would get 7x squared plus 42x? You agree with me?
Yes.
What would you have to take out of here to complete the square?
7.
The 7. So just don't distribute the 7. Just distribute the x. Okay? Just don't distribute the 7. Just distribute the x. So then I'll leave my 7 out here. What's x times x? What's x times 6? And leave me a space right there, because remember, I'm fixing to complete the square. Look, they already put this number over here by himself. I like that. What's the only thing I should do right now?
Make your rainbow.
You better draw that rainbow, people. Okay? You better draw that rainbow. All right, this is going to be a pretty problem, isn't it? You like this one?
No, I don't know.
It's going to be nice. Look at that beautiful 6 sitting right there. Why do I like the 6?
So it can be half easy.
Yeah, he's easy to have. 6. What's half of 6?
3.
3 squared.
9.
So I add 9 here. What do I add over here?
And you multiply it.
63.
Oh, 9 times 7. You didn't really just add 9. You added 7 times 9. So we have to add 63 over here. Are you with me? Okay. So 7 times square root of the first. Keep the first sign. Remember, the last sign is always a plus. And square root of the last, quantity squared. 112 and 63 make 175. Now what do? Divide by 7. You can't take the square root until what's squared is all by itself. So, is that what we did? Y'all, is that the last test? Y'all, that's what you did on the last test. Okay, so if you didn't learn how to do that, look, it's still getting you. Learn how to do your stuff. So, x plus 3, quantity squared, is equal to. 7 goes into 175, what, 25 times? Now what do?
Oh, square root. Oh, it's pretty.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Square root, square root.
Wait, what's
Go
the
on.
same exact one on the worksheet?
X plus 3 is equal to what?
Yeah.
Plus or minus 5. Okay? So this is x is equal to negative 3 plus or minus 5. Are you with me? What's negative 3 plus 5? 2. See, this is negative 3 plus 5. What's negative 3 minus 5? Which one, do both of these make sense for my problem?
No,
Why not?
because you can't have like a negative.
Oh, so when you multiply 7 by negative 8, tell me what that rectangle looks like that the length of his side is negative 56. Okay?
So if the line's like,
Yeah, you can't do that, guys. You can't have the length of a side negative. Okay? So, 2 is my answer. Anybody got a question?
So just throw that number
so
out.
it's not possible you throw it out.
We're throwing it out. Now listen to me. Let me make sure that you understand this. Is this extraneous? No. An extraneous solution is a correct solution that does not check. Okay? This is just thrown out. Why? Because he doesn't make sense with respect to this problem. He is a solution to this equation right here, but this equation represents my problem. So this solution doesn't make sense. So we just chunk him. Not a big deal. All right, anybody got a question? Okay, so let's do today's lesson. All right, so here is today's lesson. This is 4.7b. We are going to use Yeah. To put a quadratic, what's a quadratic? Yeah, it has an x squared. A quadratic in vertex form. What? Vertex form? I haven't heard vertex form in a long time, right? Since before Christmas. Hey, anybody know what vertex form is? Anybody remember? Y is equal to? I'll start you off. A times vertex form.
Take a gander back to
X, that's intercept form. X minus H, quantity squared, plus K. Okay? X minus H, quantity squared, plus K. What's my vertex? Come on, you know what the vertex is.
H.
Opposite.
HK. Yep. Change the sign and keep the sign. Change the sign and keep the sign. Look how that sign changed. Change the sign and keep the sign. You can think about it like this. X's, what do X's always do? The opposite of what you think they're going to do. Change the sign, people. Y's do exactly what you think. Keep the sign. Okay? Alright, now take your different color pen and star this. This is important. This is the only differences between what we did yesterday and what we did today. Yesterday, we used completing the square to solve an equation. Today, we're going to use completing the square to put our equation in vertex form. Alright? So only two things are different. Okay? Only two things are different. The first thing is instead of putting the constant on the other side, you will just separate it. You're just going to separate it. So what you're going to do is you're just kind of pull him off by himself. Look at this guy out here. This has something to do with that. Do you see how he's kind of pulled off by himself? Okay? It's going to kind of look like that, but that is not the constant. But it will help me get the constant. All right? The next thing is, then, since you're just pulling it off by himself, you're not taking him to the other side, then you are working on one side. Okay? The other time we were working on both sides. So what you did to one side, you did to the other side. Are you with me? Now we're working on one side. So, what are we going to do? You will do and undo. That means if I add 4, then I will go out there and do what? Minus 4. If I add 6, I will go out there and minus 6. If I minus 2, I will go out there and what? Add 2. Okay? All right. So let's do one problem. We're just going to work 3 problems, guys. That's all we're going to do. All right? So this is example 6. We're going to do 6A, B, and C. All right? 6A is going to start off really easy. 6B is going to get a little more difficult. 6C you're going to get by yourself. So y is equal to x squared minus 10x plus 22. So the very first thing that I want you to do is I want you to tell me how this is different from the problems we worked yesterday.
There's a Y on the side.
That's exactly right. There's a y over here, and yesterday there was a 0 over here. Or there might have been a number. You can interchange them, but look at my formula that I'm shooting for. So I don't want to be anything over there with the y. That's why we're only playing on one side, okay? Because the y wants to be by himself. So I can look at it and tell you what the vertex is. All right? So, the first thing I want to do is this 22, I'm just going to pull him out here by himself. So he's going to look like this. Okay? Now, I'll tell you what I do. This is what I do, so I kind of like keep my mind on my business. All right? Look, I separated him out. Why? Because I'm fixing to create a perfect square trinomial so I can write him like a quantity squared. Okay? All right. So let's do it. What's half of 10? 5 squared.
25.
So I'm adding 25 right here. If I add 25 right here, what do I want to do out here? That is the do and undo. You want to subtract. Now listen to me. If I take an equation and I add 25 here and I subtract 25 here, have I changed my equation? No, because that's 0. All right? I'm changing the way I'm writing it. Okay, so now this is a quantity squared. What is the square root of the first? Keep the sign. Square root of the last. What's 22 minus 25?
-3.
What's my vertex?
5, -5.
Very good. Change the sign and keep the sign. Change the sign and keep. Good job. 5, -3. What's my axis of symmetry? X equals, I love that. X equals what? Look at your vertex. What's your X? 5.
I forgot.
X equals 5. That's okay. You got close. All right. So, everybody okay? All right. So, now we're going to do one that's a little more difficult. Was that bad? No. It's different than the other one, right? Because the other one is what you do to one side, you do to the other side. But this time we're only working on one side. So, you're going to do it and then undo it. Do it and then do the opposite. All right. So, let's look at B. B looks like this. Y is equal to 2x squared plus 3x minus 7. 2x squared plus 3x minus 7. All right, so this first step, I want you to do 2 things, okay? What's the first thing I have to do? How are you going to get rid of it? Y'all, you're going to factor it out, just like we were. Who does he get factored out of? Only the what? Remember I said this yesterday, but you didn't really know what it meant. Yes, only the x's. I said it yesterday a couple of times so that it would kind of stick in your head, but this is why. It's only factored out of the x's, and that little -7 goes out here. Okay? So, what do you multiply 2 by to get 2x squared? What do you multiply 2 by to get 3x? That's exactly right. Okay, so if you want to know what it is, people, you're like going, what? You can't multiply 2 by something and get 3. What do? You take this number and you divide by this number. Whatever, take that number, divide by whatever you're factoring out, which is the same as dividing. That doesn't reduce, so that's what the answer is, 3 over 2. Okay, so plus 3 over 2x. Now, as soon as I pull this 2 out, what should I draw?
Rainbow.
Yeah, you better draw that rainbow. He is that gentle reminder that you better think when you add that, did I really add that? Okay? All right. So, look guys, lots of chicken scratch over here. I'm not doing anything in my head. When I take half of this number, am I going to divide by 2? No, because you don't divide a fraction by something, all right? You multiply. What can I multiply by? I have. I'm going to go over here and do it. 3 halves times 1 half. I've been doing it over here. I'll do it over here. 3 halves times 1 half. What is that? 3 over 4. Now what am I supposed to do with it?
Add 3 over 4.
Square it. You've got to square it first. So square the top and square the bottom. What's the top square? 9/16. Did you really add 9/16? No. Go over here and go 9/16 times 2 over 1. Y'all please reduce those fractions. How many times does 2 go into 16?
8,
And my answer is
9, 8.
9/8. So I really added 9/8 here. What do I want to do here? Subtract 9/8. Okay? Down here. 2 times. You write your quantity squared. You should know it. It's looking at you. It's written on my paper. Square root of the first. Keep the sign. There it is. Square root of the last. Okay? If you don't, you look over here and you go square root of 9, square root of 4, 16. I don't know what that is. Okay, so put this over 1. What do we have to find? A common denominator. So I'm kind of going down here. What is a common denominator between 1 and 8?
8.
What do you have to do to this 1 to make him an 8?
Multiply by 8.
Yeah, so you multiply the top by 8. What's negative 7 times 8?
56.
Negative 56. People, this guy, he's already over an 8. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just write him down. Negative 9. These are like signs. What do you do with like signs?
You
Add them. So negative 65 over 8. That doesn't reduce any. So equals negative 65 over 8. Are you with me? Okay, so tell me what my vertex is. Negative 3/4. Oh, that's not an equal sign, sorry. I did that twice last period. I don't know what happened to me. That's a minus 65/8. Okay, so negative 3/4 what? Negative 65/8. What's my axis of symmetry? X equals negative, do I have to write x equals? Yes. Okay, which way does my parabola open, up or down?
It doesn't have a negative.
Yeah, y'all look, that's a positive 2. That's my A. He tells me the direction that it opens and how wide or narrow he is. Is he wider, narrower, or the same as the parent function? Narrower. Okay, the 2 is narrower. All right, anybody got a question? All right, that was a good one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Here's a better one, just for you, all by yourself. We call this one the double doozy.
Oh no.
And I know y'all like those at the cookie shop.
Yeah,
Where's the cookie shop?
The Great American Cookie Factory, a double doozy is like a cookie on the top and a cookie on the bottom with icing in the middle. All right, so here's my problem. Okay? So what's the first thing that I'm gonna have to do?
Factor out 3, negative 3.
When you factor out a negative, what happens to the signs?
All change.
Okay. So the rest of it's yours. You do it. Do something, guys. It's better to fix something that's wrong than to not know what you're going to do that's wrong. Isn't that right? What I get here? Divide -5 by -3. That's what I did. 5/3. Take half of it. 5/6. Square it. 25/36.
But you're multiplying.
Did you really add that?
It's
That's -3 times over 1.
Make the same about 36.
I'm not gonna do that. Watch what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make it better than that.
Oh, you're.
How many times will 3 go into 36?
1 and then 5.
So that becomes -25/12. So if you really subtracted 25/12 here, what do you want to do here? Add 25/12. Keep going. Is that what y'all got?
Yeah.
What's my vertex?
-5, 6, and 21, 12.
What's my axis of symmetry?
X equals -5, 6.
Does this parabola open up or down?
Down.
Down. Very good. Very good. All right, anybody got a question?
Are we gonna have practice on these? I'm not too sure.
Okay, so the back side of your worksheet, that's what it is. And yes, it has some really nice ones like this one right here. Okay? It has some really nice ones. So you use the rest of class, what do you got, 15 minutes or something?
Yeah. 15 minutes.
So use the rest of the class. I would try some of those. And then later on, if you wanted to, you could go back and finish the first side if you didn't.